Okay, so now we've looked at all of the different types of schedules. And let's say that you have selected one that is appropriate for your student and you are ready to get started. How are you going to teach it? In our last training, we talked about classroom procedures and routines, and we talked about all of the strategies listed on this roadmap and how those strategies support teaching procedures and routines. Well, like I said earlier, using a schedule is a routine, and all of the strategies on the road sign are great for teaching those routines. So we are going to look at those through the lens of teaching student schedules. So the first step in your task analysis is that a transition signal occurs. It's going to be the cue that lets the students know that it's time to move to the next activity. And while we're here, we want to talk a little bit more about choosing a transition signal. So we know that transitions are hard. They're hard for many of our students. They have a really difficult time with them. And using a transition signal like a timer can help. So if the child doesn't want to move to the next station or activity, the timer is the reason we're transitioning. It's not our fault. The timer said it was time to move. That's worked for me so many times. They tend not to argue with the timer, although there are always exceptions. And for those that are sensitive to like loud alarm timer type sounds, there are a lot of different styles of timers out there, even on YouTube, that you can pull up and like play on a smart board. We've seen teachers use a maraca, different types of bells. So lots of options out there. If the noise type is an issue, there are a lot of ways to work around that. A really great strategy is to assign a specific person in your classroom to set the timer. It's really important that it's always set for consistency. Sometimes in your classroom, a paraprofessional will be the best person for that job. Sometimes it's the classroom teacher. It really depends on your schedule. Another idea is to use an Alexa or a Google Home device. You can set up a full day schedule on those and start it once and it will run the rest of the day. So that's pretty cool if you are into technology. We also suggest using an icon or an item. So we have two here that we see often. So you have like a little icon that says check schedule with a check mark, or a lot of times we see just a random item like a poker chip. And when the signal goes off, you hand them that item and it reminds them what they're supposed to do. So you would teach them when they receive it, they need to go to their schedule, place it in either a container or an envelope, and check their schedule or whatever the steps are in your procedure. And then also we want to remind teachers to give kids time to process and respond. As teachers, or maybe even as adults, our natural instinct is to start talking as soon as something doesn't move as fast as we want it to. So if the timer goes off and the students haven't moved yet, it's really important to pause, allow the transition signal to fully occur, and then give them time to process what that means and move on to the next step. As you'll see when we move forward, cleanup is one of the next things. So they need to have time to stop, think about what is the meaning of the timer and what they need to do next to get started. A lot of our students take a little bit longer to process, so this is a really important step.